New in the last 5 minutes, Palestinian Freedom Flotilla sails amid escalating Gaza violence. New rocket fire from Gaza towards Israel IDF. Israel's response to Gaza mortars, strongest since protective edge. In the last 15 minutes, live updates. Tensions flare as dozens of mortars fired at Israel from Gaza. Israeli kindergarten yard hit by Gaza mortar fire. Israeli Navy enforces Gaza maritime blockade, stops flotilla in the last hour. Palestinian boat breaks Gaza siege. EU FMs discuss Gaza as activists demand sanctions against Israel in the last 2 hours. IDF strikes Islamic Jihad targets in Gaza after multiple mortar barrages. 5 code red alerts sounded in South Israel near Gaza. Palestinians on 2 boats attempt to break siege on Gaza. Gaza, fishing vessel sails off to end blockade. Israeli jets bomb Gaza after mortar shells fired from Strip. Live updates. Israel strikes central Gaza after mortar barrage on South Gaza. Militants fire mortars into Israel. Tensions soar as Israel hits Gaza militant bases after mortar fire. Flotilla carrying Gaza wounded breaks. Unbearable siege in the last 4 hours. Barrage of projectiles. Israel reports shellings from Gaza Strip. Gaza mortar hits Israeli kindergarten amid barrage. Gaza militants fire largest barrage at Israel since 2014. The latest. Palestinian set sail from Gaza. Defying blockade. Israeli strikes hit Gaza militant bases after mortar fire. Hamas IDF strikes Gaza targets in response to mortar barrage. Gaza's Great Return March massacre, a turning point. More than 25 mortar shells fired from Gaza into Israel. IDF Palestinians sail from Gaza to protest Israeli blockade. IDF pounds Gaza targets after PM vows heavy price for mortar salvo. More than 25 mortar shells fired from Gaza and Israel. IDF Hamas. Israeli strikes hit Gaza Strip. Gaza flotilla pushes off to protest against Israel blockade. Israel Air Force strikes Gaza. Israeli aircraft strike Islamic Jihad position in Gaza. Residents. Gaza flotilla pushes off to protest Israel blockade. IDF hits targets in Gaza after rocket barrage fired into Israel. Mideast. 28 mortars fired from Gaza to Israel. Military. Israel builds marine barrier north of Gaza. Gaza activists launch journey to break Israeli naval limits. Gaza mortar barrage fired at Israel. Netanyahu. IDF will retaliate with great force against attacks from Gaza. Israeli shelling kills 1 Palestinian in Gaza. Palestinians launch boats from Gaza to protest Israeli blockade. Netanyahu vows to respond with great force to mortar barrage from Gaza. Militants in Gaza fire mortars at southern Israel. Army says Israel begins construction of sea border, intensifies Gaza siege. 1 lightly wounded after mortar from Gaza lands in Israeli kindergarten. At least 25 mortar shells fired from Gaza towards Israel. Mortar shells fired from Gaza land near Israeli nursery school. In the last 6 hours, dozens of mortar shells fired from Gaza in largest barrage since 2014. Gaza militants launch mortar bombs against Israel. No casualties. Gaza man succumbs to gunshot wounds sustained during border protests. Israeli shelling kills 1 Palestinian, injures another in northern Gaza. IDF won't hold back after mortars fired at Israeli communities from Gaza. US peace envoy slams reverse flotilla trying to break Gaza blockade. Watch. More than 24 mortars fired from Gaza into Israel. Israel will respond to Gaza mortar attacks. Gaza militants fire barrage of mortars into Israel. EU condemns unacceptable indiscriminate attack on Israel from Gaza. Gaza militants fire single biggest rocket attack on Israel in years. Israeli military says 27 mortar shells fired from Gaza. Israeli army says projectiles fired into Israel from Gaza in the last 8 hours. Gaza Operation Slingshot. More than 25 mortar shells fired from Gaza. Israeli military says third round of rocket sirens heard near the Gaza Strip border. Israeli army shells Gaza Strip again, kills another Palestinian. Israeli military says more than 25 mortar shells have been fired from Gaza. More than 25 mortar shells fired from Gaza. Israel says Gaza Strip radicals launched 27 rockets in direction of southern Israel at least 25 mortars fired from Gaza into southern Israel. Gaza militants fired dozens of mortars at southern Israel. Army Israeli military, more than 25 mortar shells fired from Gaza. Shells Israel with heavy mortar fire. Israel shoots down Gaza mortar fire. 25 mortar shells fired from Gaza. One lands in kindergarten. Israeli shoots down Gaza mortar fire. Israeli defense system shoots down Gaza mortar fire. Gaza militants fire barrage of projectiles at southern Israel. Army earlier today. IDF reports multiple rockets launched at southern Israel from Gaza Strip. Israel intercepts barrage of rockets from Gaza. Israeli defense system shoots down Gaza rocket fire. Israeli defense system shoots down Gaza rocket fire. Volley of rockets fired at southern Israel from Gaza Strip. European foreign ministers fail to reach consensus on Gaza violence. Gaza is fed up. Palestinians to send out boats defying siege. Yesterday, Palestinian killed by Israeli tank fire. In Gaza, Palestinian killed in Israel strike in North Gaza. Ministry. Palestinian killed in Israeli strike in North Gaza. Ministry. Israel building new sea wall to complete siege on